Secret Invasion has been getting progressively worse as it doubled down on mistakes of the past, but I never expected them to sink to this level, with the director himself coming out and saying, I can't give away the ending. But the thing I love about this show is that it's less about Nick Fury vanquishing Gravik, and it's more about Nick Fury reconciling with Gravik. This is a guy who wants to bring about the apocalypse, and Nick Fury is going to give him a hug.
Have you lost your reptilian-ass mind?
People have said before that this show's just about, oh, everyone's morally grey. But it turns out it isn't, it's just that nobody has any morals. And The Marvels is coming out, so it looked like they were going to reset Fury for the last episode. At the end of episode 5, it seemed like Fury was getting his old mojo back. Instead, no, he's just going to fawn over the evil villain. Because at this point, Gravik only deserves one thing. You have to remember, this is a guy who set off 3 bombs and killed 6,000 people. He killed Maria Hill at the end of the first episode, at least in theory. Tried to blow up Air Force One with Citadel inside it. Killed Emilia Clarke, at least in theory. He attacked the president's convoy and tried to kill Citadel again. He'd murdered Talos, Nick Fury's best friend, and someone who was responsible for Nick Fury's entire career.
Every time you were promoted inside S.H.I.E.L.D., we did that.
Another case of a man taking credit for
Scrolls.
work.
Told Fury's wife that she had to kill him, even though he knew she wouldn't. And then tried to kill Fury's wife when she refused to do it. And of course, tried to bring about the apocalypse by causing an international nuclear war to wipe out 8 billion people on Earth so that he personally could take over the planet and rule it himself.
Now you understand.
I still don't understand, to be honest. But all of those horrific war crimes pale in comparison to appearing in Barbie. I'm sorry, but how is anybody supposed to be scared of you when they've seen you like that? At this point, I kind of think it's fair to typecast you, because that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. But come on, you've got a guy who's been horrific to Fury, attempted to destroy his entire life and then wipe out the planet, and after all that, I'm supposed to believe that Fury just wants to be friends again. Don't worry, I'll forgive you. Well, let's just reconcile our differences together so we can live in peace. No, it shouldn't be about Gravik living in peace. It should be about Gravik living in pieces, spread across multiple different planets. And maybe this is just me, but I think it might be an explanation for Secret Invasion's incredibly low viewership, even when compared to other MCU Disney Plus shows, and they didn't do very well either. This is just one of the worst of a really bad bunch. Given it the second lowest MCU premiere audience of all time, only above Miss Marvel. Albeit, as she's now got her own show, just goes to show. There's still hope. Doesn't matter about the quality of your show, we'll just put you in anything nowadays. And I think it's always worth remembering that this is a show that has a budget of $212 million, which is double the budget of Oppenheimer. And because of the budget, you see people do things like, well, it should have been a movie, as if that's going to improve it for some reason. Oh yeah, it's a terrible TV series, but if we just make it a movie, somehow the quality level goes up. Because I do understand that if it was a movie, it would have to reshape its focus for which stories were shown. But basically, I think they mean we can cut out a lot of the trash.
Say the words. Help me, Talos, because I'm useless without you.
But that's not even the problem. The problem isn't that there was a good core to the show, and then just a load of peripheral stories that didn't need to be there, and if we remove them, you'd end up with a far tighter, more interesting, less boring show. No, all of it was boring, and it didn't make any sense. The core story of this show, when you explain people's motivations, comes across like you've had a mental breakdown.
Well, then you send some of our people to Vara's house and kill her.
Why? What was the point of asking her to kill him if you knew she wasn't going to kill him? And you didn't even want her to kill him because you want him alive. But you're also annoyed that she didn't follow your orders. Are you keeping track yet? But even if you ignore logic, they make really, really stupid decisions. Like Emilia Clarke's Marvel twist isn't clever, it's just dumb. And that's coming from the direct. They don't even like making articles about how bad a show is. It's just when a show is this bad, even they can't ignore it. So how on earth are they going to be able to ignore something like, after everything Gravik has done to Fury, he's just going to let bygones be bygones and give him a little bit of hug and and send him on his way. Because Emilia Clarke's death was really stupid. She just left a base and then got shot on the way out. It was at the end of the episode, and then at the start of the next episode, she immediately comes back to life within the first 20 seconds. So her death was rendered meaningless, and it made death meaningless within the show. Doesn't matter if somebody dies, because they can always retcon it later to bring them back. And what made that worse is that Disney spoiled their own plot point. They teased her return before the episode was even launched, just like they've leaked the plot and the twist of the finale before the final's even out. But this was especially bad because it showed a video of Emilia Clarke reacting to that episode going, "Oh, that was quick. Perhaps it was too quick."
That was quick. Maybe too quick.
You couldn't have made it more obvious if she held up a big sign going, "I'm not dead yet, Dave."
He's dead, Dave. Everybody is dead. Everybody is dead, Dave.
Are you trying to tell me everybody's dead?
I don't know what you're thinking. Well, it was just from the end of one episode to another. It's not that big a deal, and she's a major actress. We had to bring her back for the rest of the series. We had to keep the viewers involved, so we had to give them a little bit of a warning. Even if you make excuses for everything in the show, including that. Are you gonna do it twice? Actually, no, sorry. We've already done it twice. Are you gonna do it 3 times? Because if you are, where's that line? I'd really love to know. Because right now, we've got the question of, who did Fury call at the end of Secret Invasion episode 5, where he said, "It's time, let's finish this." Yes, it's a bit of a nod to Infinity War, where he called in Captain Marvel. But people have been absolutely losing their minds, coming up with different theories about who could be brought in. Now, they think the most likely explanation is it's Gravik. It doesn't make any sense. Gravik already gave him a time and a meeting place. He doesn't need to be called to tell him he's on his way. Gravik isn't like, "Yeah, can you just tell me where you are so I know you're safe?" He's not a worried relative at this point, it's fine. You don't need to share with him your phone's GPS. It's like, oh, maybe it's Chia. The last episode got to get Emilia Clarke in because Daenerys was very expensive. This show's cost us $212 million, presumably just from the actors' budget alone. We better get our money's worth. Is he calling in the Marvels, getting ready to advertise the next movie? Do you think that Brie would lower herself to be in a television series? And if she would, did Disney think that would be good marketing for Secret Invasion? I mean, at this point, Secret Invasion is doing so badly, I do think Brie would genuinely help it. It would certainly help get their name out, because nobody has talked about this show. Or is he bringing back people from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? There was lots of talk before the series about, oh yes, Chloe Bennett's gonna be in it. But my money isn't on any of those people, for one very, very simple reason. We already know that Disney are terrible at their jobs and can't keep their mouths shut, even to the point where they make videos advertising that they can't keep their mouths shut. And we already know the people who are appearing in the Marvels, and it's Kobe Smulders. You know, the person who died unceremoniously at the end of episode 1, and she was a major character and nobody seemed to care, even though we know she's appearing in a movie that's set after this TV show thanks to The Hollywood Reporter. A 7th movie appearance is reportedly coming in the Marvels. So this entire interview is like, I'm really glad that nobody leaked my death. It's been a great run in the series. But at this point, there's only really 2 options. Either you're bringing them back as the twist of the finale that you've already leaked, or your timeline makes literally no sense. And at this point, I'm not sure which is worse.
Try and get a nap. You seem a little grumpy.
I guess in the Marvels, she could be brought in as a flashback and that'd still maintain integrity, but you kind of wonder, why bother? And are you really going to kill such a long-running character in a TV series that nobody watches? Because if that's the case, to steal the title of an Inverse article, I think she deserves better than Secret Invasion. Because nothing in this show has been worth watching, it's not been worth the money, and none of your twists have worked. Fans have been vocalizing concerns about the latest Skrull reveal. This is where Rhodes was a Skrull, but people weren't happy with the supposed shock value of his reveal, as they'd seen it coming for weeks. Subtle, this show isn't.
Us brothers gotta stick together, know what I mean?
And you thought you'd demonstrate that by breaking and entering?
Which is one of the greatest problems with it. This is supposed to be a spy show where anybody can be anybody. You'd expect paranoia and twists and turns. It should be an incredibly intelligent show with lots of little hints that are spread across the entire series that build up into something amazing. And instead, what you get is Nick Fury forgiving the guy who wants to bring about the apocalypse and has been making his life a living hell. And given the fact that this has been a long-running character in the series, I think it's far more likely that they just did it and thought, the fans will come up with their own little real headcanon for this one, rather than the multiple appearances he's been through, planning out and going, oh, by the way, you're actually a Skrull here, but we're not going to reveal that for a really long time. No, I don't believe they had a plan, they just retconned it and hoped that people would come up with their own evidence for it. Because when it comes to this, I'm more likely to believe that Jar Jar Binks was a Sith Lord. I genuinely hope he was. Good, but this series should have been made for me. I love spy shows where you're never quite sure who's on your side. Everyone's backstabbing and betraying each other. Well, there's basics that should have gone into that, like checking if somebody was a Skrull whenever you met them, because you wouldn't know when they became a Skrull in the first place. But everyone just trusts each other and kind of goes off intuition rather than any actual skill or spycraft. And it's why this show just feels so disappointing. This is an article that was written with just one more episode to go, so after the entire series. Secret Invasion has tried to craft an emotional arc, requiring multiple ill-fitting retcons, flashbacks, and exposition dumps. This entire show is an exposition dump. Nearly every scene is just two people at a table talking to each other.
Tell me something I don't know about the Skrulls that fled. They're here. Who's here?
And you can do that, but if you want to do that, everyone has to be so much more talented to get it done. Secret Invasion has failed to discern the difference between making Nick Fury flawed and making him downright incompetent. That's because they didn't want to make him flawed. The intention was to make him incompetent.
And wrapped around my finger by a woman far greater than I could ever hope to be.
And the proof of that is just everyone constantly telling him how incompetent and useless he is.
Still a lot better if we were on the helicarrier.
That's been mothballed, a little bit like you should be.
They talk about the scene I complained about, where he's literally protecting the president in hospital. A Skrull comes in, he says, you must be insane to think I'm going to let you go in there. And the guy goes, yeah, you are. And Nick Fury goes, okay, and walks off. It's insane, it really is. Fury is scared off by comments. We now live in a world where Nick Fury would fold in the face of a Twitter controversy. And it's especially bad, given the fact that Fury walking away has now led down the chain of events that will require Fury to give the Avengers DNA to the person who wants to bring about the apocalypse. Nick Fury caused the end of the world unless he goes and gives the villain a hug. And that's why when they go, oh, well, it seems like he might have a few tricks up his sleeve, you're like emotional blackmail or, I love you, son. Episode 6 is destined to feel anticlimactic and unearned. Nothing that Secret Invasion has done with Nick Fury has lined up with his character that fans have known since 2008. He's a hero defined by practicality and strategic mind, which the Disney Plus series have gone out of their way to downplay. And it squanders Samuel L. Jackson. There's been some conversations online recently about this isn't made for you, which is interesting because now we've established there's a line, we can just debate where that line is, and the next thing that comes out, I can go, no, you're not wanted here, thank you, goodbye, it's not made for you, can you kindly piss off, please? So there are going to be advantages. But when it comes to Secret Invasion, I can't help thinking, who is it made for? Because you could play this series in a coma ward, and the patients would get up and walk out of the room to escape it. Maybe that's why the last scene ended in a graveyard, because Fury might have actually brought a few of them back. That's what some of the fans are hoping for, by the way, that in the twist of who he's calling in the finale, it's actually Talos, despite the fact that his corpse was actually burnt on a funeral pyre. They think that through the widow's veil, Fury might have actually given her a different person. Which, given that Talos was actually responsible for everything Nick Fury had ever achieved in his entire life, Fury should probably be hoping for that scenario, because otherwise he's going to be useless in the Marvels, unless they just turn him into a different person again for absolutely no reason. Because that sounds stupid, but that's what they did in the show. And this whole article about Kobe, she does go into detail about, well, you know, when I did die, I was given notes and a card, and she's very definitive about, no, this is actually a real death, we're not going to go back on it and stuff. But then they ask a question about, could you just pop up again down the road? And she goes, well, maybe, I'm not against it. I guess anything's possible in the multiverse. So even if she doesn't return in the finale, I still think this entire idea proves why it's awful, that you don't know. Death is so meaningless in the Marvel universe that even when you die and she's like, no, I'm definitely gone, I was given cake and everything, you're like, ah, well, you know, you're probably going to bring her back. It means that when a character dies, no matter how important, you don't really care because you just assume they're going to return at some point, which takes away any kind of emotional impact you could have. And when all of this combines together into one massive trash pile, you still come back to the point of how did this cost $212 million. Was it just on the actors' budgets? Because that's the only thing that makes sense. There is no big CGI. It was all filmed on location in England. No CGI legend fights across skyscrapers, no space battles. Even the action sequences are nothing special. And when you compare it to costing twice as much as Oppenheimer, I think you really run out of excuses. Because yes, it's a bit longer than Oppenheimer, but not that much. It's 6 episodes, but when you take out all the credits and the reruns, some of them are only 30 minutes or less. And money wasn't this show's problem. Making it a TV series rather than a movie wasn't this show's problem. Its problems are baked into the very core of the series. The plot makes no sense. The characters are awful. You've destroyed Fury. The plot twist seems like they were just thrown together, not thought through. And many people saw them coming a mile off, if they even meant anything in the first place.
You got any more abuse you want to hurl my way?
If these are your 4 main characters, 2 of them have died, and 1 of them's already come back, with the other seemingly coming back in the next movie, if not sooner. And we're even compiling articles about the various different questions that still need to be answered, which, given the amount of sense that the show's made so far, I don't think any answers they're going to give you are going to be satisfying at all. Like, where is Rhodey? Does anybody care? They're even asking questions like, why have the Avengers ignored everything? When Fury's already said that. I need to do this on my own, and everybody needs a hobby. Yes, I know this could bring about the apocalypse, but I can't be bothered to phone them, because I think I need to do it on my own. Selfish, egotistical lunatic. You've been told you're useless at everything, you should be at least have accepted it by now. And in the ultimate act of copium, this is the one theory to rule them all, and they're still saying it doesn't matter. Nobody can understand why Gravik and Fury give a crap about each other at all. Gravik's so cut up because Fury broke a promise to a 9-year-old. Like, well, you know what they should have done? Wouldn't it have been better if Fury and his Skrull wife had adopted Gravik in the intervening years? This would have added an extra layer of tragedy to the series. But as there's only 1 episode left, any dramatic potential has been long lost now. They've missed multiple opportunities. If the viewer had known about this before the conflict, it would have been complex and interesting. But the investment was never able to form, and nothing in Gravik's current behavior or personality suggests that he can be redeemed. So it's going to be really weird then when Fury meets him and decides to give him a hug rather than a lead sandwich. Remember, at this point, he's even wiping out his own people. He's nothing but a petty tyrant who wants to destroy one world so he can rule over its ashes. And a last-minute reveal that he's Fury's son, or that they share some other kind of special connection, won't change that. He's not a villain the viewer feels bad for. He's one they want to see taken down harshly. But that is the emotion of normal people. Not Disney, not Hollywood. Because they have abandoned morality. They have no sense of right or wrong, or what should happen to somebody who is doing wrong. Oh, you've just got to forgive them. They're just like you. It's not their fault. Society did it. He's wiping out the entire planet, love. At some point, we're gonna have to stop it, alright? That's why this entire thing just seems like a series of missed opportunities. This show could have been great. It had the cast that could have made it great. Even the story, the setting, did hold potential. It's just they had nobody in charge or writing it who knows what to do with potential. Everything's so basic, boring, and ignorant. This show was destroyed before it even began by just not having any talent involved in its creation, apart from the actors. Well, most of the actors. This is a far believable character for him to play than this. He does not fit the villain role at all. So as you come out and give your bold predictions, you have to wonder, who's left around to care? Do you really care if Rhodey is rescued? Or what's gonna happen to Citadel? Do you care if the Skrulls find a new home? Or after they've tried to cause the apocalypse, should they just be fired off into the sun? And don't worry though, Nick Fury will be back in action. He has to be, because we've got to put him into another movie, which means the entire series will have been completely pointless. We destroyed him for no reason whatsoever so we could insult him for 6 episodes, and then put him back because we need a movie to start. One thing that's been obvious to everybody throughout this is that this show hates Nick Fury. It's almost like the entire series and $212 million was specially created just to insult him, to run him down, to destroy him as a character. They're just not allowed to leave him that way because, you know, movies are what make the money. The issue is, if you treat everything like, well, the TV series don't matter, it's the movies that matter. We can put anyone in a TV series. Those Disney Plus viewers will just watch any old crap. Doesn't matter what we do there. You still end up destroying your IP. I used to like Fury before this series. I don't anymore. Most of your remakes or sequels don't bother me at all. Like the Wheel of Time series doesn't affect in any way what I thought previously about the Wheel of Time. Changing Doctor Who later on doesn't affect what I think about David Tennant as the Doctor. But this existed. I can't really say why. I think it's because Samuel L. Jackson was involved in it himself. It's made by the same people, it's in the same timeline, and it's got the same actor. It's not like this was a remake or they changed it or new people came in. It's one entire product, and quite frankly, you've ruined it. You've ruined him as a character. And so I don't care about him being in the Marvels at all. And his earlier appearances just don't seem very impressive, when this is where he ends up. So as you start putting Secret Invasion onto Hulu, all because nobody's watching it on Disney Plus, and you've got to try and spread that budget around somewhere, Secret Invasion should go down as one of the biggest disasters in television, because it wasn't just a bad show. It actively destroyed one of the main characters that the fans liked of the entire MCU. And yet that won't happen. Secret Invasion won't ever be commented on again. It'll have no lasting legacy or impact, because nobody's watching it. And so while that's probably good for Samuel L. Jackson, as it saves his character in the eyes of millions of people, it does leave you with the question of why would you spend $212 million for the privilege? Because Secret Invasion will be lost to the sands of time, whispered about in corners of the internet. And given the sheer amount of bile and hatred with which they treated their characters, I guess that's a good thing. But those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe for more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.